Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Insights with C5 Insight. Today, we're going to be walking through some of our picks and highlights from the 2024 Wave 1 release, specifically for customer insights. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Wonderful. So I'm going to get started today with one of my top picks from the Wave 1 release notes for Customer Insights Journey specifically. And one item that I'm very excited that is coming is the ability to update which email address field you want to direct your messages to on contact records. This is something that is in place right now for leads. So you do have the ability to change which email address you're using for communicating with your leads, but this is now looking to come into place for contacts. It looks like right now this will be generally available in May. And so now, especially if you have contacts where you have both, let's say a personal and then a work email address, you will have the ability to target your email messages to go to whichever email address is most appropriate. So this is very exciting that it's coming for contacts. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Very cool. It's not an individual thing, or is it like when you're building a whole message,
yes.
you tell it to always this is going to go to everybody's personal or everybody's work?
Yeah, it would be on the email specifically. So when you're in your journey and then choosing the email action, you'll have an option in the settings to say which email to send it to. And
Very
so
cool.
for anyone going through that journey, you would need to specify it's going to go to the contacts work, email address to, or the work email address field. So it would be, journey specific for anyone going through that journey. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good one. All right, over to who we're going to go to next.
I think Paige.
Me. So one of the ones I thought was pretty interesting is easily referencing copies of sent emails in the timeline. Now, I know on the surface, some of you might be like, okay, can't you do that already? Yes, you can already do that. However, they're adding the additional information around anything that's dynamic, and also any of your pictures. So that way, originally, when you look at that, it's got the insert name here information. And, a lot of times who that is because the record you're on, but there might be other pieces of data that's dynamically entered that you might not know based on the record right away. So it's going to be a lot easier for people to see that information at a glance, especially people who are not marketers, right? So the folks who might not ordinarily be involved in creation of the content, but the people who might need to see that content when they are talking with their prospects or customers. So that I thought that was pretty interesting that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be coming out in the general availability in April.
I hope that also accounts for, say, conditional formatting, where you might have different images depending on your recipient, or different messaging depending on your recipient. So I'm hoping that will be included here too, because it's not currently, I don't think.
It says, it does say, review the output generated by advanced personalization features such as conditional content.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
Because I know that causes confusion when someone sees an email that has, let's say 3 different header images, and they're wondering, did that go to this person?
Yes.
That's not what it was sent. So yeah, that's a great ad.
I'm sure that would make people sweat for sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Patrick, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go out and look at some customer insights data as opposed to journeys. And what brought me to want to talk about this one is we had a version of this that was supposed to be part of 2023 Wave 2 with a public preview in March. Yes, just a week away. And it has morphed a bit and changed. But I think the idea, and by the way, if you're somebody who looks at the planner a lot, before it was called Build Custom Reports using Microsoft Fabric integration. And of course, Fabric's the new umbrella term that takes up everything data-driven. Power BI, customer insights data, all of these things are now under the Fabric umbrella. And what we're hoping to see from this, and we don't have many details here, and you can see that public preview, it looks like, has been pushed out to May, GA in July. So we'll see what really happens since they've already moved the date once. That should tell you everything else you need to know about the reliability of these 2 dates. But let's assume, we'll be optimistic that we're going to get this. What we're hoping to see is the ability to start accessing through, say, Power BI, the customer insights, the insights information that we get through the analytics of email opens and link clicks and website visits and
wow.
all of these pieces of information that you can't directly access through custom means. In other words, we've got some dashboards and things that are available to us in the app, but all we can do is filter on what's presented to us. So we're hoping we're going to get some more visibility so we can start to combine it with other external systems. I've got a client I'm working with right now who wanted to do what's happening in customer insights journeys and also a third-party social media tracking system that they leverage and bring those 2 things together to look at some KPIs. And we can't do that right now, not directly. So
Interesting.
Fingers crossed this is going to be what we want, and it really happens when they say it's going to happen.
So that begs the question, looking back at what Pages had, and maybe this can be done today because I'm a little arm's length that with some of the insight stuff. But can you see that data today as just a general viewer of the information? Like, do you have to be a marketing user to see the clicks and the opens and all that, or can a standard, like a sales user who happens to see the email in the timeline get access to, like, yeah, this person actually engaged with it? I know some of these marketing tools have like a heat map to show where they engaged.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would be really valuable, right, to a salesperson, knowing, oh, this person did open it and they spent 18 minutes on this email or on the page, and here's where they clicked. That's golden data for somebody, I imagine. So
yeah,
I'm curious.
Maybe not quite to that level, and certainly, Emily, if you know better, jump in. Not to the level you're describing. You can definitely see the email opens and clicks and things like that in the individual either lead or contact timeline, but nothing like the heat maps that you're describing, not general, this whole campaign, here are our statistics, here's how many emails we sent to this segment, and here's how many opened, and those kinds of things. That's not available to people who are not licensed for customer insights.
Got it. Fair, which that makes sense. But
yeah,
hopefully, hey, Microsoft, if you're listening, start to explore how you might incorporate that, because that's really important data for a salesperson.
So valuable.
Yeah. All right, so then I'll take the reins here, and the one I picked that jumped out at me right away was collect extra customer information without creating custom attributes. And I love this one, but I also think it comes with some caveats. So love it because it's a pain to have to create fields for all that information when you maybe only need it once. But the caveat, I think, is if that's data you want to lean on at some point in the future, I'm curious how this is going to look and whether you have access to that information. I presume if it's not an attribute, then you probably don't have it. It's just embedded inside of the capture somewhere, and you can't really report on it or filter on it. Maybe you can, I don't know. But if you can't, you kind of need to weigh whether you are going to need to do that, right? And in some way, shape, or form. And I can't really think of a good example. I often go with the shoe size example. So if you're going to need to know the person's shoe size in the future, then you're probably going to want to capture that as a custom attribute on their record so that you can pull that in and say, hey, show me everybody who's got a shoe size of 7. But if you don't need it, you just need it for a one-off, then this is probably a great option. But I know, even though I'm at arm's length, I've heard from our customers for sure that are using the tool that this is going to be a very welcome addition to the platform. Absolutely.
And you raise a good point about how accessible the data is. I know that there is some form, submission table, but it's also how the data is initially brought in from the form submissions. Something that we've been experiencing recently with the client is that, for example, a form used for event registration, the submission is just one string. So it might contain 10 different fields, but it's just one string. It's comma separated, so you can, of course, get that information. But just, to that point of how accessible it is, I mean, it is, but not easily. Also so definitely a very good consideration if using this to think about.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And we actually we had to build a Power Query inside of Excel to extract some of this information in order to see what we wanted to see from those submissions.
Right. Right. It's that extra effort that you need to put into
Mhm.
it. So I want to scroll up really quickly because we wanted to touch on two quick things before we wrap up. So first and foremost, one of the things that jumped out at us when we started looking at this is we're like, oh, that's interesting. They've still got marketing up here, and there's insights and insights data and insights journey. So to the point earlier, right, everything's kind of rolling under this umbrella of insights, and we've got data and journeys. But the fact that marketing was still there was interesting. But we realized that you've got this filter, and when you filter out certain things. Now I forget which one, what this must be it then. Oh, there was still marketing. So there's items that are still here if we filter for 2023 wave 2, right? That there's still items here. But if we change this filter to here, then those items in the marketing disappear. And they've in some cases been shifted down. And I think in some cases we discovered maybe one or two had even just disappeared altogether, which is not uncommon. Sometimes things just all of a sudden evaporate from the list of planned features, and we understand that that can be the case. But that's one thing to understand, that filter even exists. So use this to your advantage, right? To whether it's for that or just to look at new things or changes or whatever the case is, whatever the case may be. So kind of a neat function to know is there. And the other thing we wanted to call out is hopefully you've watched some of these Insights with C5 Insights recordings over time, and you might say to yourself, man, it would be so cool to hang out with some of these people in person. And so if you wanted to do that, we would be remiss if you were to miss our 365 leadership coming up, a summit coming up in May of this year, May 16th to 17th. It's actually right on the heels of the Fantastic Dynamics Con conference. So if you're interested, we'll put the link in the description below so that you can register now and join us for a fantastic couple of days, chock full of fantastic insights and good details on how to use some of these applications and how to make an effective plan so that you can maximize these tools for your organization. So we hope to see you there, and we'll of course hope to see you, or hope you see us on another episode of Insights with C5 Insight coming up soon. Thanks, everybody.